Prepare yourself for the terror. The prison of madness, where few enter and none return.
Welcome to Unsung Horrors. With Lance. And Erica.
Leave all your sanity behind. It can't help you now.
Welcome to another episode of Unsung Horrors, the podcast where we discuss underseen horror films, specifically those which have fewer than 1,000 views on Letterboxd. I'm Erica.
I'm Lance.
And really quick, before we jump into the film that we're going to discuss this episode, I did just want to thank Mike from See It on 16mm, the Frida Cinema, for their screening of The Children in connection with the book. It was a lot of fun. I got to actually see it twice that week because we also did it again when I came back to Austin with Ivan from Bat City Cinema and AGFA. I love that movie. I could watch it again tonight if I wanted to.
Yeah. I remember we watched it many, many years ago. I think you were there on 35mm for Dismember the Alamo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I rewatched it. It was a double feature pick for some episode. I forgot which one it was. I think it was Who Can Kill a Child.
Yeah.
But yeah, that movie gets better and better every time.
It really does. It's so much fun. And I think I dropped some little trivia tidbits on people that they thought were really fun. The kid dying sound being, cats and heat, and the backstory about the dog in it and stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun. And I got to meet one of our listeners, Francisco. He came out to the Frida Cinema. Oh, yeah. So thank you,
nice.
Francisco.
Hi, Francisco.
Yeah.
And you also met Armando, right, from Trash Mix?
I did, yes.
Nice.
Got a sticker and everything. And yeah, he's rad.
Yeah, he's super cool. He has good lists on Letterboxd, and he's very intelligent.
He is my go-to when I'm looking for a trashy Mexican film. And yeah, everyone should be following him on Letterboxd, following his blog, his write-ups and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I hope he's got something coming down the road, book-wise, because I would love to own that. But
yeah, he should. I mean, I know he's been contributing more and more to special features, which also I like to see a lot more of. People hire this guy. He knows what he's talking about. But yeah, some sort of publication would be great.
Yeah, he's great.
I want to say happy Junesploitation to you.
Oh, yes.
Today's June 1st.
June 1st, yes.
We're recording on June 1st, so happy Junesploitation, everybody.
Kicking it off. Looking forward to seeing everyone's picks this month. If you're not in our Discord, we do have a channel dedicated to Junesploitation. So if you want, you can just join for that one reason and mute every other channel. I know Lance is going to tell you, don't do that, participate, but...
Yeah, no, do what you want to do. It's your life.
But we would love for you to join us, share your picks. F This Movie's got their list up, so if you want to check out the categories, there's a lot of fun ones this year. A couple I'm not so excited about, but, Yeah,
at least there's no scarecrow, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I'm very pleased that F This Movie decided to do a lot of Roger Corman heavy themes, which, every year is kind of there's always one or two Roger Corman,
of course,
movies in on my list, but they have AIP, New Order, a lot of Roger Corman specific stuff. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. And if you want to hear us talk about Roger Corman outside of Junesploitation, you can go back to some old episodes of the Cult Movies podcast where Lance and I were guests.
Multiple
episodes. I think we only did Corman movies with Anthony 3 times, right? So we did Rock and Roll High School, Little Shop of Horrors, and Cage Tea.
Yeah. All bangers, man.
Hell yeah.
I think we picked the best of the books. Or book. That was just one volume.
That was just volume 1, yeah. But go check those out. I'll find them and put links to those in show notes. But this episode, I lied previously. I said no more Francis here. And then I watched this and I was like, I want to talk about this movie. So
good pick.
We're going to be talking about Threshold of the Void from 1972. This is available to watch on Archive. I'll put a link to that in show notes. And as of this recording, it has 198 views on Letterboxd. So Threshold of the Void is about this young artist named Wanda Leibowitz. She arrives in Paris to what we perceive to be escaping the pain of a previous relationship. We find out later that her boyfriend, maybe fiance, whoever it was, basically said he doesn't love her anymore. When she arrives in Paris, she's immediately offered a room to rent by Leonie Gallois. She's an elderly woman and says that she was holding the room for her sister, but her sister no longer needs it. Wanda is warned by her not to open a locked door that's connected to her room, but of course she does because, when you tell someone not to do something in a movie, they're going to do it.
Open invitation.
Yeah. And so when she does open it, beyond the threshold, she finds this black void. But she finds inspiration for her painting when she goes in, but she soon discovers the sinister purpose of the room. And I won't spoil that until we get to our discussion of the end of the film. All right, Threshold of the Void was directed by Jean-Francois Davy. He has done mostly sex films and sex comedies, but there's a few other random ones out there, like one from 2017 about a computer that decides the fate of unemployed and homeless people. And then there's another one about 8 teenage boys climbing a mountain. Not easily accessible. I didn't watch any of his films. I focused mainly on the actors for this. Did you watch any of his films?
I didn't, no. Yeah. Tough to find a lot of them because, they are adult films, but...
right.
Or they're on sketchy sites. Yeah,
it's like, I'm not clicking on You Noodle magazine. I don't need to be bombarded with a million pop-ups of someone eating ass.
I mean, all honesty, I'll confess, I've watched movies on Noodle magazine before.
I have too.
I think Chuck Vince, or not, yeah, maybe it was a Chuck Vince episode that I watched a bit of those. And the Claude Monet for the Blood Rose too. But didn't watch any of his.
Davy also was the screenwriter for this, along with Alain Gerber and André Roulin. André Roulin is the pen name for Kurt Steiner, who was the original writer. This film is based on a novel by him. He's an extremely prolific writer. I haven't read anything by him, but I am curious to read the original novel of this. So if I can find that in English, I'd be tracking that down.
Yeah, I read a couple of synopsis about some of his books where he seems to be into the time loop stuff and a lot of weird, I don't know, something that fits that you can find a lot of references to this movie itself.
Yeah, for sure. Cinematography is by Louis Solenis. He has 4 films on Letterboxd total. I didn't check out any of his other work.
Yeah, I've seen one of his movies in the past, the Agnes Varda movie.
Oh, okay.
I'll mispronounce it. It's like La Pointe Courtier or something.
Okay.
But yeah, I just remember, obviously it's beautiful. It's a black and white from the 50s, but I just remember it being kind of a bleak relationship movie where it's like this crumbling relationship.
Oh, okay.
I like his work. I like his camera work. Good shots in this.
Yeah, I think there's definitely, there's one scene in particular that not just one, but there's a few in particular that I really like. We'll talk about that in a bit. Before the cast, though, I did want to mention the score is by Jacques, maybe, Arel. No other films that I've seen. There's only a few credits that I could find from him. There's a moment in the middle, though, and I'm sure your ears perked up when this happened, too, when she's walking around the streets of Paris, and the score is like this Eurocrime score. It's like, doesn't fit it at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's got that flute and everything that you're so I'm like, where's Merle? Where's Maurizio Merle?
Yeah, that one was out of place because for the most part, the score is pretty dramatic. And I know I sound like a broken record, but I got some Angelo Badalamenti vibes, like scenes of Laura in her bedroom by herself. Like it's just very dramatic, kind of tense, kind of adds to the horror tag that's on the movie or that we gave the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, that one scene did, I was like, hell yeah, more of that.
I was very excited for it, but I was also like, this doesn't fit. But now I think I wanted to watch something Italian right after I was done with this. So let's get to the cast though. First, I want to kind of go backwards. We'll get to Dominique Erlanger last. She plays Wanda. Odette Duke plays Leonie Galois. She's the old lady who rents Wanda the room. Roland Topor, he's the unibrow guy on the train. And I think later he's also the guy who carries her from the car accident when it's her point of view. If not, it looks just like him.
Yeah, that might be him.
He plays Renfield in Herzog's Nosferatu.
Oh, yes.
Which he definitely looks like he could be a Renfield.
Oh, for sure.
I'm not shaming him, but that unibrow is not attractive.
Yeah, I mean, it works. It got him parts.
It did. Pierre Van Eyck plays Dr. Liancourt. And Jean Servet, he's the gallery director. He was also in Rafifi, one of the greatest heist movies of all time, as well as The Devil's Nightmare with Lance's wife.
Yes. My sweet, sweet Rose Albinieri.
Mm-hmm. But the star of this is Dominique Erlanger. She plays Wanda. Beautiful, beautiful woman. And she is in a couple other films that I watched. One of them being Valerian Borovchik's La Marge, or The Margin from 1976, starring Sylvia Kristel and Joe D'Alessandro. I did have to download that one. Unfortunately, it's not streaming anywhere out there. I think it's got a DVD release. It's not on the Boro set that Arrow put out. But I know Ryan from our Discord, Ryan BMD, he loves this movie. I think he talked about it in the Discord, maybe not our Discord, but at least a different one when he watched it. And it's been on my watch list for a while. And so I'm glad this one came up to watch, because very minimal dialogue going on in this. It's a really simple story about Joe D'Alessandro's character going on a business trip. Sylvia Kristel plays a sex worker, and he develops a relationship with her. And it ends kind of tragically. I won't spoil it, but yeah, it's interesting because the Borovchik movies that I've seen have all been sort of more historical dramas, and this one's very different, set in modern times. So definitely recommend The Margin, or La Marge, from Borovchik if you haven't seen it. I also watched a sex film called Don't Change Hands from 1975. This is about a private detective, woman private detective. And basically this woman hires her to, not Erlanger. Erlanger plays a sister, like a really minimal character in this. She's not in any of the sex scenes. But the film itself is about a female private eye who's hired by a woman to find her son who's gone missing. And it turns out there's this bar that is drugging men who come to it. There's like a sex show, or like a nude show that they have on stage. And when men come there, the women drug them, have sex with them, they film it, and then they, if they're rich, they'll bribe them.
Nice.
Or blackmail them. So it's fine. I mean...
I see Howard Vernon's.
Oh, yes. Cast. Howard Vernon's in it. Yes, I forgot. I went to mention that. He plays... There's some political thing going on here. Like the whole like blackmail thing is meant to fund some certain political party, and the mom is on the other political party. So there's something else going on there. Like it's trying to be more of a movie than it should be. But I don't know. Maybe something was lost in translation with it, because the subtitles were fan subbed, and like I think there was some sort of underlying stuff I might have been missing there. There might be a lot more going on, but I mean, it's fine. It was enjoyable. It's not too hardcore for people who are a little adverse to, seeing those types of shots all of a sudden. So yeah, I mean, soft recommendation, not a hard recommendation, if you will. And then the other film that I watched with her in it, and she literally plays a bar patron. She has no lines in it. There's a movie from 1974 called Femme Femmes.
Same director as the Don't Change Hands.
Mm-hmm. Same director. And I didn't rate this one on Letterboxd because I don't think I was in the right mood for this one. It's about two retired older actresses living together. And it's sort of this blending of their daily lives and their dreams, alcoholism, neuroticism. It's like... you can tell what's real and what's not for the most part and what's going on with it. And they're just these sort of like, they've got pictures of themselves from their like heyday in the movies, like all over. One of them's constantly drinking and the other one's like trying to get money to pay bills. And I don't know. I think it's definitely one that I know I wasn't in the mood for. I liked it, but I don't know. It's hard to recommend because I know I was just like about it. I was like, just kind of, I felt like I was slogging through it a little bit, and it was a little longer than I would have liked. It was almost 2 hours. So, but yeah, Erlanger in this, bar patron, no lines, but still stunning and recognizable in it. Any other cast or crew mentions you want?
Well, you didn't mention her lover in the beginning that's shown just in flashback scenes, Frank.
Yeah.
Played by Michael Lemon.
Oh, yeah.
Who, he's popped up in a lot of movies. He has that weird alien face. He's in Castle of Creeping Flesh, which, that was my Blood Rose double feature pick. But I did watch, before I watched Threshold of the Void, I kind of looked through the cast and I was all, oh, I'm going to watch another Michael Lemon movie.
Yeah.
And I watched a movie from 1962 called Planets Around Us, which is like this Italian sci-fi movie.
Okay.
He plays the son of like this famous professor who's working like on atomic energy or something. And they're both killed in a plane crash. But then after he and his father are killed, Le Mans starts popping up all over the world simultaneously, just destroying these science facilities and satellites and rocket launches and stuff. So people are after him. And then you find out that it's like an alien race that are sending down cyborgs and replicating dead humans' bodies.
All right.
So it's a really cool premise, has some really cool effects, even some of that sped up dissolving skin to bone to ash, some of our favorite stuff. Even has some stop motion animation, but very talky, like most early 50s black and white sci-fis. At the ending too, there's this very awkward breaking the fourth wall where the narrator talks directly to the viewer.
Okay.
But Lemon does a perfect job because he barely speaks because he's this alien and he's learning about the human race. So he's like perfectly cast as an awkward human because he has the look and just the movements.
Yeah.
Like no human characteristics at all. But yeah, I like him as an actor. He usually has very small roles. Castle of Creeping Flesh, he kind of has a bigger role, but he plays a scumbag like rapist, terrible man. But yeah, I always feel like his filmography is bigger than it actually is. And it's almost kind of, I don't know, I've only seen a few of his movies, but I want to see more of him.
Okay.
So when he popped up in very, very minimal in Threshold of the Void, I was very excited in those scenes.
Okay.
So I just want to give a shout out to him.
I'm sure he'll pop up again soon somehow.
Yeah, he'll pop up in some other French movie you pick.
It's all French movies the rest of the year. No, I actually have my list for the rest of the year and I'm sticking to it.
Okay. I have no idea.
I know. Do you even know what we're doing next episode?
I'll decide before this episode ends. I got a few ideas.
Okay. Seeing how this conversation goes first, right?
Right. Yeah. If I'm going to pick this French movie that I have in mind or if I'm going somewhere else.
Okay. All right. Well, I want to start our discussion with some questions, Lance.
Okay.
First of all,
there's a lot to unpack in this movie.
Would you open the door? Someone tells you you're renting a room, owner of the, house or whatever is like, don't open that door. Are you going to open the door?
Yeah, especially if I'm there for months. And yeah, I would try to open it. Mm-hmm. If it's locked, I'd probably leave it alone. But in Wanda's case, there's just a set of keys right there where she can use. So yeah, I would, in that situation, I would open the door.
Okay. Once you opened it and you see what's there or what's not there, this void, are you going to stick your hand in there? Are you going to go in the void? Or are you like, fuck that, I'm out, close the door, and you're done. Your curiosity satisfied.
Yeah, I would probably do what the character in this Wanda did, stick your arms in. And if it's like that dark where there's no reflective, it's like you're sticking in, like you're putting in like a liquid almost.
Yeah.
That would freak me out. But I'm at an age right now, I think right now in life, where I just don't care what happens. If I die, I die. Like I'm gonna go in. I would definitely go, and I would be prepared. Like I would grab a lantern like she does, but I get some sort of heavy duty flashlight. And, you know. But yeah, I would definitely go in.
Okay.
What about you?
No, I'm not adventurous at all.
You would not go in?
No. Yeah, I would stick my hand in, and once that happened, I'd be like, I'm out.
Yeah, I won't say I'm not necessarily adventurous, but I'm thrilled to. Yeah, in this situation, it's like if I disappear, I disappear. It's a good story for people to figure out like where the hell Lance goes.
I feel like hold on, I'm 45. So let's say in like, if I'm still here in 30 years, then yeah, I would go in. Yeah. When I was in my 20s, I would absolutely not like even open the door. Now I might like, all right, I got some keys. I'll open it. I might stick my hand in. No, I'm not. Curiosity satisfied. I'm done. Like, yeah. I'm just not going to go in. But apparently, you're in there. You're in the void.
I am.
What is the void? What do you think it is?
I think the void is Wanda's mind.
Oh.
I think it's her psyche, like it's her everything. It's her fear, it's her fantasies, it's her memories. It's a little bit of everything. To me, I feel like this is like, there's so much interpretation for this movie.
Sure.
I love how thought-provoking it is. And I think I'm going to ramble most of the time we start talking about anything. But I think that the whole room, everything, that whole setup is just, it's all just this dream, this illusion she's had. And I think she's an old woman the entire movie. This is what I think.
Okay.
And I think she's stuck in going into that black room is her, that void is her just denying death, denying aging, denying, trying to stay young, creating these fantasies of some maybe art career she had at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's all, I don't know. I don't think it's literal, but the way it's presented, I think the black room, that voided room is her subconscious. It's her mind. And she's walking into that and facing and creating fantasies and stuff and fears. What do you think the room?
I think that's a definite, I don't think there is a right answer to this. So I think another possibility is that it is a little bit more literal and a little bit more on the sci-fi side of horror, where this room is some sort of conduit or transference portal that's kind of like a purgatory in between, like, here's your existence in the room, and then you go beyond the threshold of the void and you go in here, and it's this sort of like transition almost area for like your soul to transfer into the older because I get like a lot of, there's a bunch of different movies that I'm reminded of. I think Rosemary's Baby is going to come to mind for a lot of folks. Mm-hmm. Like, younger woman moves in next to an older woman who's like always commenting about her youth. The moment where she gets drugged at the party and wakes up and everyone's like surrounding her, like Rosemary's Dream.
Yeah.
When she's at the hospital and the doctor calls the other doctor to come and grab her, kind of thing. So like, I think there is like this sort of conspiracy going on with these people, and who knows how long they've been doing it. And that there is this sort of like, maybe it's a sci-fi element, maybe it's a satanic element, like a movie that I'll talk about when we get to double features for like this transference of, an old soul into a younger body. So I think it could be that too.
Yeah. And I get that, because they do talk about, like, when she enters the void at one point and she sees the old man who kind of explains that weird situation of, this 30-year-old took my body or whatever. To me, I feel like Wanda and the old lady are the same. It's one and the same person. Mm-hmm. They're, she's the old lady and Wanda was her at a younger age. I don't know if it's like something to do. I don't know if it's some sort of mental unstable, like schizophrenia or dementia or even like Alzheimer's or something. But I feel like she's in a mental institution the whole movie, and she's coming up with these ideas of, she knows she's old. She knows she's in her twilight years. She knows she's pretty much on the threshold of dying. So, her mind creates this situation of, she sees friends and family as these old people, because, she's lived a lifetime, and she believes their bodies have been taken over. Like, she thinks that she's envisioning herself as still young, and all of her friends and family are still young. But when she sees them as old, she thinks there's some sort of like, somebody stealing bodies and stuff. Yeah. I don't know. I've loved how this movie made me feel and like really kind of busted open all these ideas. It's frustrating, but also I just love these type of movies.
No, I like that. I like that idea of, she's in a mental institution the whole time. We're never shown that or given confirmation of that, but we're led to believe that that's a possibility, especially in that scene you're talking about, the negative exposure one where she's talking to the old man, because it could perfectly well make sense that she's actually having a conversation with someone at a psychiatric institution where she herself is also interned. It's like,
right. There's also a scene where Wanda is walking through that house with in that party scene, and she opens the door, and it's what I perceive as her as the old lady, dressed up in all the white. And then the doctor is saying, "Oh, let's
get her to the clinic.
Let's get her to the clinic. Let's while she's drugged out." Like there's kind of hints that I feel like when the scenes when she's talking to the young doctor and she sees a picture of herself essentially on the wall, like these are all scenes of her actually speaking and seeing, like a psychiatrist or some sort of doctor or something.
Yeah. And like the check that he's writing for her artwork, he's like, okay, I'm just going to write her this fake check just to be like, sure, great artwork here.
I started getting lost too, because the whole thing kind of starts off with her losing a lover, and then I thought, okay, maybe this Frank guy represents like her lifelong partner or husband actually passing away, and he's super old, she's super old, and this just kind of compounds her. She's kind of fighting the idea of her lover's gone, her life partner's gone, and now she knows she's next. So she's fighting this idea of aging and dying. And I almost felt like the doctor in the scene, like when they go out on a weird, awkward date, like he represents her young husband. Like when it was fresh and they were in love and, she's flirting with him and stuff. But it's like, I feel like it's meshing. Like maybe she was starting to lose her mind when they were together and he's kind of playing along, but also knows that she's gone. I don't know. It really threw me off. I love it.
So I think that makes sense though, because we're sort of, I don't want to say like force fed a few maybe symbolic or literal messages in this with the clock. Like the clock keeps coming up, and like I tried to pay attention on like the second watch and then the quick rewatch, like looking at like the actual times themselves. Like, is it moving forward or is it stuck at the same time? So maybe like the clock is like, it is representative of impending death, but the fact that it's stuck at a certain time means something. Like I got hung up on like little things like that.
Yeah, because it seemed to always be stuck within, from what I could tell, like an hour of each other. It was like 2:57 or something was a big one. And then I think when she was at the party or somewhere else, it was
11, 15 or 10 or something.
Oh, was there? I thought yeah, that might, or I thought it was like 1 something.
Maybe. But I should have written it down.
I should have too. But it almost, I got the impression that it meant like time's just standing still. It has no value in this weird mindset of the Wanda character at that point. Yeah, it's time stops, but it doesn't stop. Everybody's going to die. Everybody lives. Everybody dies.
Yeah.
I just went down a dark hole.
I mean, like this isn't a feel good movie. Like you folks, y'all are going to die. Just FYI.
Yeah. And that's what made me feel like it made me feel like, okay, we're all going to die.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of movies make you feel that, but this I feel like is the focus. To me, what I got out of it is just getting old and aging, and you're fighting it.
Yeah.
But you can't go anywhere.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, even if you took the film literally and were like, yes, there's this conspiracy group of people who have figured out a way to transfer their old soul into a young body, or the more, what you're suggesting, where it's like she's stuck in this like mental state of like trying to stay young, and she's created this sort of alternate reality in her brain. It all comes down to this fear of death and like people not wanting to accept that. And I'm like, people, sooner you just accept that it's going to happen, the happier you can be in your like in the few years you have left.
That's why I would enter the void. Like I would enter that void because I'm like, I accept it. I mean, to me, I feel like, she's completely rejecting the idea of aging and of ultimately dying. But once, it's freeing once you realize this is it. Like, I don't know. It's very sad to think about. Like if I take a step back, and I feel like it's a terrifying thought where this woman is just stuck in this room, like in her mind that she's trying to fight off death. Yeah, I don't know. It could be more about grief and loss too. Like, her lover just passed, and again, it's just there's a lot. Like it's kind of insinuated this girl's kind of out of her mind, but I'm going to say she's in her mind.
Okay. All right.
It's just, I love it.
So there's a few scenes in the film that I did want to bring up that aren't necessarily, or they could be directly related to it. This bigger theme that we've been talking about. We already kind of talked about the negative exposure scene. I love that scene.
Yeah.
I think that definitely contributes to your idea about what this actually is and like this sort of dream scenario. The scene in the cafe with like the artists and the anarchists and like they're talking about politics, and it ends very abruptly when the long-haired guy that she's talking to just touches her shoulder really quickly. She freaks out and walks out, and then the scene just ends. And I don't know if that was just editing or if that was meant to mean something more, like maybe she had some sort of other issue with men after her previous relationship or something like that.
Right.
Or that's someone from this reality in her dream. Maybe if we're going with your idea of this, someone touching her from this reality in her dream. And it's like, oh no, I can't break out of my,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, what did you, that scene?
That one scene is odd. I mean, first off, the editing is very weird. I think it's intentional. Like in the first 10 minutes, it's like she gets into the room and then there's this quick edit shot of the camera kind of zooming onto her as she's sleeping. And it's like a second long. And then all of a sudden she wakes up, it's morning.
Yeah.
I think it's intentional just to like jar. I mean, it could be just poor editing, but I think it's very effective. But that one scene, I didn't really understand that scene. I didn't know if it was maybe they were throwing in some sort of maybe the writer had something to do about like the politics at the time because he was talking a lot about like the revolution for a bit. But it also could have been a focus on like the ambition of youth too. Like he has all these ideas and like and she's almost like she's with it for a while and then she's not. She's it could be fighting. Yeah, I don't know.
No, I think you're onto something with like they're having these conversations like the youth will have, like they get politically heated about things. And then if she is actually the older woman at that time and then like hearing it and then that person trying to reach out to her and have a conversation about it and her freaking out and being like, no, I can see that. Like that's, I can see that as definitely a possibility.
Yeah. Cause I do love in the very beginning when the old woman is presented, introduced, she's talking to her about the room and then she kind of looks off and she says, I love youth. Mm-hmm. It's very creepy.
Yeah.
And then later when Wanda's kind of walking around town, there's a couple of scenes of that, but she wanders into like a pastry place, like a bread shop or something and sees a boy.
Yeah.
And even when she's on the train in the very beginning,
oh, the young boy.
She just stares at these young kids. And when she's confronted by it, by like the parent, she freaks out and immediately retreats.
Yeah.
So that's where I started. Like in the very beginning, I was like, okay, she's the old lady, because Wanda, there's scenes where she's just like staring either directly at the camera, which I love those. Because those scenes, like when characters stare directly at the camera in this movie, it made me feel like, because, I have all these ideas in my head. It was like an encouraging look, like you're onto something, Lance. Like, what? You just cracked the code. I'm like, whoa, they're staring right at me. But there's a scene where she's just, staring at that train conductor. And then she won't break her gaze. And he finally kind of breaks the gaze and she's like just staring at people straight on that are sitting throughout the bus and the train. And in the very beginning, the old lady's just standing there staring at Wanda when she arrives.
Right.
And I'm like, this is, I don't know. There's a lot of similarities between the characters right away. So the first time I watched it, I was like, she's the old lady. They're one and the same characters. And you kind of get that when we hit on the end. But yeah, I don't know. It's there's a big focus on just staring at youth and like being completely just concentrated on it throughout this movie to me.
Well, I think there's just more of like this infatuation with youth. And I think that leads me to another point, like not just her staring at young children or as the old lady picturing herself as a young woman, but the teddy bear. And I'm going to preface this by saying I fucking hate the woman with the teddy bear trope. Or like if you're over the age of, 10, and you have a teddy bear that you're cuddling with and you're talking to, I fucking hate that trope. Like, grow the fuck up. Like, right, I'm sorry. And I think I see why it's used in this. It was used as like this sort of infatuation with youth, but also a way for Wanda to communicate some exposition because she's talking to the teddy bear about what happened with her past relationship. So I get it, but I fucking hate that trope.
Yeah, I don't know if the teddy bear represented like youth for sure. Like, because there is a scene. I think the sound editing in this, the sound design work is perfect. It's so great. But also with the teddy bear, I feel like, because in the end we'll talk about it. But she grabs the teddy bear from that kid as the old lady. I feel like that's kind of the beginning of it. Like, that's where she gets the teddy bear. And then in the very beginning, as a young woman, Wanda has the teddy bear and she's talking to it. Like, I feel like the movie does a great job for me. Is like, it's like a loop. Like, it just keeps the start and the beginning.
It could be played on okay, yeah.
But there's a sound editing. There's this one sound design that I loved. She walks into the void, the room, I feel like maybe for the last time. And you hear like this moaning. I think it's the old lady, and she's all it's very. And to me, I think, okay, close your eyes, don't look at what she's seeing. It's obviously it's in a black void, and she's dreaming this. Like, it's the old lady in bed in some sort of mental institution, and she's dreaming of what's happening. And you hear her moaning because she's having this weird nightmare. And then when she walks out of the room, it's a baby crying, which, again, back to the whole youth thing, but then she runs and grabs the teddy bear and hugs it. Yeah. And I feel like, okay, that represents like a rebirth. Like, I don't know.
I think you're onto something, Lance.
And I did want to point out too, like, when she sold that painting to her doctor, or he wrote a check for it.
Yeah.
And then at that point, she changes her appearance. She's wearing the wig, which is very, very strange. But she did say, I don't want to rot in that miserable room. And, it's kind of like, she's talking about that weird triangular room that she's staying in that has the locked door. But to me, I heard the doctor's kind of playing to her, like, because I have family members who have are mentally, quote, mentally out of their minds or schizophrenic. And you kind of, you talk to them like, okay, yeah, what else? Like you're trying to hold a conversation with them, which is usually impossible to do, but you kind of want to guide them along in what they're trying to say. I felt like the doctor was doing that. And she was actually saying, I don't want to die in this hospital room. Okay. And he's just playing with her like, yeah, okay, I'll write you a check. And you're a great artist, just kind of pushing these fantasies that this ill patient might have. But I don't know, that one line made me think, okay, she's stuck in like some sort of institution. The room she's talking about is the room she's in. Yeah,
I think even the painting itself lends itself to your theory because, if it's this sort of time loop and the painting itself starts off as like this eyeball in this spiral, like what you're seeing itself is like, maybe I'm taking the painting too literally, and maybe it's just meant to be like.
No, that does, because the painting I couldn't. First off, I don't think any of the artwork was great.
No, it's not. And Lance can say that because he's a great artist.
I mean, it was cool. Like, it's cool ideas, cool like drafts and stuff. But when she like goes in and, the room kind of tells her what to paint, and she kind of livens it up with color and stuff. Yeah, like that. I can envision her as like a patient doing those paintings, like a lot of, most artists are mentally ill.
Well, yeah.
There's nothing wrong with them. But yeah, no, the painting itself, it's just a huge spiral. Yeah, I like that.
So this has something that I know is one of your favorite things in films. I know you love dark rooms and, original songs and things like that, but I know you also love a good costume party.
Yes.
And I know this isn't a Halloween costume party, but it's close.
It is. Yeah. It feels like you're walking into a big costume party. But yeah, it's scarier than a Halloween party because it's like, I think it represents, this is me again. Yeah. Because it's all, and she makes a comment, it's all just old people, really old people.
Yep.
Or really young people. There's not a whole lot of in-between characters. It's just her and maybe like that host that's kind of showing her around.
Yeah.
And explaining everything to her. It's like basically there's no middle ground. It's like these very old, creepy, painted up, dolled up old people, and then these little children that are running around. Yeah, that scene is very, and again, I'm a broken record, but very Lynchian to me, very David Lynch feeling. That whole scene, especially what you pull from the poster, comes from that.
Yeah.
scary stuff. There's a lot of scenes that kind of reminded me of David Lynch.
That laugh that she has, like whenever, I don't know if she's been drugged and or whatever is happening in her mind, if this is all like in her head, and she's just got that like maniacal laugh.
That's where like the full on horror comes in. It's like, okay, this does classify as a horror movie. Yeah, it's like this forced nervous laughter, and to me she's looking around and seeing the young kids and all these old people, and she's just like laughing at, maybe she's come to the realization that she's trying to fight off, her twilight years and death, and she's just like, and everybody's gathering around her, and including herself when she walks into the room as a young girl later, and when she first sees that frozen face. It's scary.
I think I read a review too that said that scene reminded them of Get Out, which I can definitely see the connection to that there.
I could see that.
I have other thoughts on like films that this reminded me of. I know I already mentioned Rosemary's Baby, and I'll talk about some other ones at the end too. You mentioned it briefly, like the wig and the other outfit that she is wearing, which as soon as she puts that on, she does start to look older. Like she's trying. So it's almost like, again, if we're going with your theory, in her mind, she's battling with herself. So either she's trying to catch up with who she actually is and look older. And because like she starts getting bags under her eyes, and like the wig makes her look older, and the outfit is very much like an older woman's outfit versus her like fur-lined coat and like, jeans and boots and that sort of thing, where she looks young and fresh. Once she puts on the wig and that outfit, she looks kind of dowdy,
Yeah. Yeah. And it could just be like the phases of her life. And, ultimately she can't fight what's happening. But yeah, there is that scene when she has like that old lady looking shawl, and it's at the end when she goes back to the cafe and she's eating that like chocolate bar and stuff. And she has her little change purse. Yeah, I feel like that's the best like performance of the movie from her. Completely just like losing it and acting like you just see an old woman sitting there. Her hair's all kind of crazy. It looks like it's cut like an older lady.
Yes.
Or more like the old lady character.
Yeah.
It's weird how her appearance just changes. But yeah, it seems like she is getting older throughout the movie.
Yeah. Anything else you want to touch on before we get to the end?
I did want to point out, I already said the sound design was great, but the set design in this.
Yeah.
So when she first walked into the room, it reminded me very much of Bill Kirsten's Disembodied. It's all like this peeling wallpaper, this kind of dungy looking room. And it's a weird triangular shape. We had talked about like the cinematography. There's a great scene in the very beginning when she first walks in and lays on the bed. It's an overhead shot of the room. And you kind of get a layout of what the room is. It's like a perfect triangle. And I don't know if that represents something either.
Yeah.
But the set design throughout, like the costume party especially, but her room, that set is like, I love it.
Yeah.
Really good looking.
Yeah. I think the set itself, it even like lets you know that it's a set because it has that one shot from the bird's eye view from the top where it's like, okay, we're clearly like in a set. And I think that in a way almost contributes again back to, your theory of like, when you have a set, you have a more artificial type of action happening there. So again, I think that could.
Yeah, no, it's definitely presented to that because I love the hanging light. The cord just keeps going up and up and up and up and past the camera. So it's definitely set up as like, this is a stage performance. This isn't real.
Yeah.
Like, and I think maybe what the character is going through like isn't real. But yeah, a couple of my favorite scenes too, before we get to the end is I love the scenes of the guerrilla filming in the streets.
Yes.
Usually when people are filming, I'm thinking of Larry Cohen right off the bat. But when you're walking the streets and you're just carrying a camera and filming an actor and everybody on the streets who's walking to work or whatever, catching the bus, they're looking directly into the camera.
Yeah.
It works so well for this movie. Like I'm like these aren't actors. They're just people, everyday people walking down, the street, and they're just looking at this guy carrying a camera. But it works because of the other performers later on and throughout the movie do look directly at the camera.
Right.
I don't know if it was intentional, but I really enjoyed those scenes because there's a lot of them where she's walking just the city. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed that too. And I agree. I think that sometimes it's one of those things that you see in a film and you point and you kind of laugh and you're like, oh, that's funny. They're, those people don't, I wonder if they know they're in an Umberto Lenzi movie, but no, I think it definitely works in this, like you mentioned. All right. So the end.
Yeah.
We have young Wanda, waking up in the void room, but it's no longer a void. She's in a bed. And she gets up and she walks outside, and then she sees the older woman across the street, and there's like a woo 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 thing that happens, and flash, 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 and then all of a sudden they've swapped places, and she, as an old woman, falls on the ground and sees wait, that's me over there, with the young doctor. And then she grabs a teddy bear from the kid, and that's the end of the movie. And so now it's her coming to grips with, is that even is this woman that she's looking at, she's just seeing her youth as it was in the past and realizing looking in the glass of the shop and seeing her reflection, oh, it's been me the whole time. Or maybe this is me now, if you would take it the literal way and say it was an actual weird sci-fi body swap thing.
Right. And that was her. Yeah. That was the young version of her being taken, like that old man talked about in the room.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be the sci-fi element. Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally got it as a realization. And I don't, like I said, I think it's the beginning of the movie. That might be the beginning of the movie. And then that's when she starts thinking and realizing and trying to fight off her age at that point. I like that old scene. I like that last scene, the ending where young Wanda gets into the car with the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if, again, I feel like the doctor might represent a lover or something.
Yeah.
And she's just seeing that and realizing, or it could represent a literal doctor. And that's when she's going into the clinic. And I don't know. I can't. I feel like it's just a loop. I do think they are one and the same person, obviously, but it's a fucking trip.
What do you think, listeners? Let us know in our Discord.
Bye.
All right. So, Lance, it sounds like you really enjoyed this film, so you'd recommend it?
I would recommend it. I think I had more fun trying to decipher what this movie's about than I actually did watching it.
Okay.
I mean, there's some good visuals, but it for the most part, it's not very action packed. It's, there's some boring scenes. It's arguably boring scenes. I wasn't, enthralled the whole time, but
yeah,
I love the way the movie kind of made me kind of step back, and I like it more and more I think about it. But I could see why people may not enjoy it watching it for the first time.
Sure.
But yeah, I would 100% recommend this movie.
Yeah, I can see this is a noodle bender movie, guys. Not Noodle Magazine. Noodle bender. It'll make you think.
It's
one of those, we like talking about death. We've Sweet Sound of Death and other movies that we've covered where we're here to make you question
the passing,
your own reality, what you want to happen in the afterlife, those sorts of things, folks. We're here to remind you that you're going to die. We are an uplifting podcast.
If there's one goal of this podcast, it's to drill in everybody's heads that you are just a walking flesh and bone body that will die.
Yeah.
What happens afterwards, with your subconscious and stuff is up to you to make up, much like Wanda.
Yes.
But this movie is very thought-provoking. It's inspiring. It makes you step back, and the stuff I'm thinking of, I'm like, okay, well, I could write a short story about this or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it did. I used to write little outlines of short stories, and I wanted to do a graphic novel and stuff. And this is just a tangent, but I had this one story where I would have this recurring dream, And in this dream, I was in a completely pitch black room, just like this. And this really made me think of this was like decades and decades ago. I had this.
This is before you were doing like your Crow reenactment films with your friends.
Yes.
Okay.
No, actually it's probably after.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know. Now I'm stuck in a time loop. But I would have this dream where I would enter a completely black room and feel for a light switch. And then when I click that, when I do finally find the light switch, I turn it on and it's just a room full of strangers staring right at me. And that's when I wake up from the dream.
Oh.
So as when you wake up from dreams or nightmares, the details start dissolving pretty quick,
right.
So I would focus in on one face of the person in the room and kind of remember their features and their face and their eyes and kind of everything about them, their hair color. Everybody else would dissolve. And then later on in real life throughout the day, while I'm out and about, I would see that person in real life. Mm-hmm. And I would just kind of ignore it. And there'd be kind of like this mutual recognition if we kind of did make eye contact. But then, that night I would have the same dream and it'd be a different face. And it just kind of went on. And then finally I confronted one of these people and they had the exact same dream. And they remembered my face, particularly that night before. And that's where I started dressing up like the Crow and making a skit. But no, I love these type of movies where it's like it kind of inspires creativity. So I definitely applaud. And like you said, I think it'd be a lot of fun to go back and read these old books and novels that they're based on. So
instead of a sketch for Instagram, you're going to be writing a short story for this now, right? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You don't have to. I'm not holding you to that. Just joking.
It's going to be like, you can only scroll 10 times on Instagram, right? So the font's you can't even read it.
Okay.
It's going to be a long story.
Okay. So what about a double feature pick then?
Like I said, this thing is it kind of left me in a daze when I finished watching it. Very thought provoking. It made me feel like the first time I watched Jacob's Ladder.
Oh, okay.
Which, I kind of just, after I watched that, I was kind of frustrated, but, trying to figure out a lot of stuff. I feel like Jacob's Ladder, you can kind of crack that code a little easier, but I just kind of wanted to be left alone after I watched it. A lot like this movie. Ultimately, I'm going with David Cronenberg's Spider from 2002.
Oh, okay. I've actually never seen this one.
So it's a movie that it's like Threshold of the Void. For me, it's very inspiring. I watched it one night. I think I was trying to go to sleep and then I couldn't. And it was probably 4:00 in the morning and I put it on. So I was definitely in this kind of sleepy state. Mm-hmm. But it was a movie that kind of created me it forced me to create my own interpretation of what was actually happening. So it stars Ralph Fiennes, who plays what's considered this mentally disturbed man. And he's recently released from an institution and he's placed in a halfway house. And while there, he attempts to piece together his childhood and life and what caused his mental state, which, he's kind of going through what I was going through watching Threshold. Okay. It's like, what the fuck is happening here? Spider seems to get some mixed reviews due to the focus of a traumatic event that is hinted on. And I feel like I've read some reviews where people are like, yeah, they just kind of beat a dead horse with with trauma, which I didn't get that. I feel like it's a thrilling kind of psychological unraveling of this character who's played brilliantly by Ralph Fiennes, whose name is Spider in it. Yeah, I think it's Spider's not necessarily horror, but it's as much horror as Threshold is. And also it's based on a novel by Patrick McGrath, who also wrote the screenplay. Very similar, like Threshold of the Void. Just because it's inspiring and it really made me think and it made me uncomfortable. And I just felt similarities to Threshold. So Spider's my pick.
I like it.
What's yours?
So I went more of the literal body swap route with my pick. I know I mentioned this isn't a body swap movie, but Rosemary's Baby, there's a lot of like through lines with that. And I think a lot of movies that you would find, I've mentioned the book before, Kayla Janice's House of Psychotic Women, where like a woman's being sort of driven crazy and like has all eyes on her kind of thing and fourth wall breaking, things like that happening. There's a lot of movies in there that could pair well with this. Ferrara's Body Snatchers. I wouldn't go like Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I think Body Snatchers Ferrara's would be more fun. Did you ever see? I can't remember what year it is. That's like early 2000s. The Skeleton Key.
No.
Okay, so I'm going to spoil this for folks. So skip ahead a minute, but it's basically about what's her name? Goldie Hawn's daughter, Kate Hudson.
Mm-hmm.
Not her name. Okay. So she gets a job like taking care of some older people. She's like a hospice nurse or something like that. And she discovers this whole conspiracy of these people who were slaves in their time who have been doing this voodoo body swap thing throughout the centuries, like over and over again. And so it's just got this element of like, there's like this group that's been doing this sort of body swap, like an older person for getting out of their older body and into a younger one to just kind of start over again.
Okay. Yeah, that would work.
Yeah. So, I mean, it could work for that. It's not my pick because I'm not going to, I've
You're not
picked
going to pick anything in 2005.
No, and I've done it before. I just picked Danzig's movie. So like I need to make up for that. So
I have dreams about that. Still nightmares.
I'm going to go with another literal body swap movie. The Brotherhood of Satan from 1971. It's about a family on a road trip and they end up in a town where senior citizens are kidnapping young children for soul transferences with the help of Satan, of course, because you need somebody to help you with that. Whether it's some sort of science fiction, some weird threshold of the void room that you have that's a portal to transference something, or it's just fucking Satan. Satan will help you do that. He'll get you through.
Yeah, I still haven't seen that. I need to watch
that. It's a good one.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. All right. Next movie.
Okay, yeah. So we're in June.
Yes.
And I know most people have their Junesploitation lists together already. But since we're fresh into the month, happy Junesploitation again, everybody. June 1st, today. I wanted to pick one that would work for a couple of the themes. So if anybody wanted to switch out or, haven't created their list yet, this movie will obviously work for Free Space. 80s horror. I think it would work as slasher.
Okay.
And the more specific theme, New World Pictures. It's a New World Pictures release.
Okay.
Very small distribution. It only has like a little over 200 views, so not a lot of people know about it. I don't even think it has New World on the details tab of Letterboxd if people are building their lists off that. But the movie is Torment from 1986.
Okay. I don't know this one.
It's about this psychopath who is out there murdering women, and the detective on the case is planning his wedding with his fiancée. And when they have a scheduled trip to visit and meet his mother at his childhood home, he has to cancel his plans due to the murder case, and his fiancée is left alone with his seemingly crazy mom, which is where the killer's next stop happens to be.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So please do not read too much into the summaries. The one on Letterboxd is fine.
Okay.
But most of them that are out there online, don't watch any of the trailers, don't read any of the summaries too deep, because they give away a fun twist that pops out of nowhere. Okay. And, it just gives away a little bit too much.
It's got a great poster.
It does have a good poster. That's actually a release. But I will say it's mainly a single location. It has a lot of dialogue. I think a lot will find the actual performance is very entertaining because the actors give it their all. Mostly unknown cast. They really blow this thing out of the water for me. It currently has 245 views on Letterboxd. It's on YouTube. Not a great quality right now.
Okay.
It's a VHS rip. It's dark in a lot of scenes. The audio is a bit rough too. It sounds like it's mixed only to like the right speaker. You can still hear everything.
Okay.
But it's like I watched it with AirPods in, and it took me a while to calibrate my brain because it was only coming into the right speaker. Okay. But anyway, you can hear everything. It's on YouTube under Torment 1986 or Noche de Horror, because it does have Spanish subtitles stuck to it. So
okay.
You're going to be learning a little bit of Spanish.
This means that this is going to get a release soon because when we watch movies that have this absolute garbage quality and have foreign language subtitles burned in, it's going to get a release.
Well, it has a release.
Oh.
Scorpion released
that doesn't count.
Yeah, no, it was a couple of years ago. It's already out of print. Yeah, no, there's a Blu-ray out there. No real special features. It does have an interview with the original composer, Christopher Young.
Oh.
It's one of his earlier horror movies.
All right.
So, and you can find it out. It's out of print, but you can find it it's all like under $20 if you wanted to pick up the Blu-ray, which I would recommend because this rip on YouTube is pretty rough, especially if you really enjoy the movie. I would watch it first. It's totally viewable. It's a lot of fun. It's a short movie.
85 minutes. Thank you, sir.
85 minutes. Yeah. And it flies. And like I said, it's a lot of dialogue, but the performances, I hope you enjoy them as much as I did.
Okay. You know what I'm most excited about is that the director of the film is also a writer of Dunstan Checks In.
Yeah, is that Aslanian?
John Hopkins.
John Hopkins. Yeah, it's directed by two people, Samson Aslanian and John Hopkins.
Yeah. And John Hopkins also wrote a movie that I've been meaning to revisit because I gave this like 1.5 stars when I watched it years ago. The Power, which was a Carpenter Obrow film. And I remember fucking hating it. And I've been like, maybe I was really like mean to that movie.
It's probably as bad as you remember. I'm gonna watch. So? I'm gonna watch that one for this episode.
Okay, I'll rewatch it. It's on Tubi. So
I see that soundtrack at End of an Ear all the time. It's like $3.
I mean, look, it's got the Pride poster on it. It's June. I feel like we should watch it.
I always think of like it looks like a Nintendo Power Glove.
Yeah, there's like some Aztec curse doll thing in it or something. Or
we'll talk about it.
I know. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm like. I got really excited about Dunstan Checks In. I'm sorry.
It's the Brady's Go to Hawaii, the Power movie.
All right. If you're not already, you can follow this podcast on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, all at Unsung Horrors. I'm on Letterboxd, Instagram, and Twitter at Hex Massacre.
I'm on Letterboxd and Instagram at Schibi.
And for folks in Dallas, June 8th, Saturday, June 8th, I will be at the Spacey Micro Cinema talking about the movie Deep in the Heart and along with a screening of it. So if you're a Dallas listener, I hope to see you there. We'll have some other dates coming up that are related to the book in August that I will announce in the future. So keep your eye out on that. But before all of that, we will see you next time for Torments.
Yes. Happy Junesploitation. Watch a lot of movies.
Absolutely. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Let's get them angry.